Good evening and welcome to South Africa Unfiltered. I am your host Nontokozo Dazela, and tonight's guest is Mr. Meyer, who will shed light on the pressing issues of underdevelopment in Bizana. Let's dive right in. Welcome, Mr. Meyer, and please tell us about who you are and what you do.
Okay, thank you, Nontokozo, and good evening to all your viewers. Like you said, my name is Mr. Meyer, and born and bred in Bizana, specifically in the area of the Wild Coast area, and also former ward councillor in the area. Yes.
All right, Mr. Meyer, could you start by describing the current state of development in Bizana and the challenges it faces?
Okay, Nontokozo, thanks again for the opportunity. When it comes to the development within Bizana, I'd like to be very honest by saying Bizana, yes, is in a stage of development, but not where it's supposed to actually be. So basically, when you look at it, we under the 50% threshold when it comes to development. So currently, the main focuses that's been going around in Bizana is the new Bizana Mall. It's the road infrastructure, the into Wild Coast. That's been like, a hype for everyone, and, especially for the economy of Bizana and the Eastern Cape. It's on its own, But when we look at development of rural undeveloped communities, the current status, I must say, is very, very poor currently. So what is going on now is that there's a water scheme that's been piloted to see whether it's going to work or whether it's not going to work. And, when it comes to road infrastructure, I'm sure, everybody's driven around Bizana. We're still very underdeveloped when it comes to road infrastructure. But we're hoping with the development of the Wild Coast N2 project that more access roads will be given, will give birth. The N2 Wild Coast project will give birth to more access roads within the community and within Bizana at a whole. Yeah, so basically, that's what we got at the moment. There's a stadium that's also been a highlight of the province. There's the new municipality building that's also just been recently opened. That's also been on the front pages of our local newspapers. So those are the only things that you can really talk about. But you ask yourself a question is, how does the development of government infrastructure impact your local community, which is your people on the ground? And that's where the critical part comes in when we talk about development. What type of development are we talking to, and who does this development speak to? Who benefits from that development? Yeah.
Thank you for your insights. What specific factors have contributed to the stagnation in Bizana's infrastructure and growth?
Look, I'm gonna start off by saying the reason why Bizana is in the state that it's in today is because of leaders putting themselves first and not communities first. And that's been the biggest challenge that we've been having within our area, when it comes to development. And also, we've got a mayor that's in the municipality, very strong. She's got a broad mind when it comes to what she would like Bizana to look like. But unfortunately, we all know as politicians, there's a hierarchy. So if you control by the hierarchy, then it's very difficult for you to implement, because you implement what you're told to implement. So basically, I think in a nutshell, I would say the lack of leadership in our political and government structures for the love of people and communities has caused our development to kind of slow down and be in the situation it's in. You know, stuff like that you can go into and we can speak for hours and hours. But just to put it in a nutshell, you know, without naming anybody, you know, that is the bottom line situation, and that is the bottom line reason for the lack of development in our area.
So how has the lack of development affected the daily lives of the residents?
Sure. You know, Nontokozo, if you just take a look around you, and you walk or you drive past the clinic, you know, you drive past schools, you know, you drive through the communities, you drive through Bizana, the town itself, and the writings on the wall, you can see people are not in the position and the place they're supposed to be. Our youth, our matriculants, our varsity students are out of jobs. You know, they out on the streets, they don't know what to do. They've got no direction. You know, our elderly folk are dying because of the lack of infrastructure, of healthcare, which is part of development in the community. You know, you look at all these things, you look at our sisters, you know, our sisters now have turned to a new system of whereby the only way to survive is to just keep having kids, because the government has instilled a very bad stigma into our young girls' minds, is that you don't have to work. I will support you. So what has happened is our youth, especially our females, they've become complacent with that social grant. You know, so if you got 3 kids, 4 kids, you know, you A and away. You know, without a doubt, there's something that's coming in. So there's people, our youth don't have that drive and that urge to look for work anymore and try to make their lives different. And it's not something that was a choice to them, but because of the development and the lack of opportunity in our area has caused them to find themselves in that position.
Yeah, that is very true. And I'm currently seeing that as well, because a lot of females in this community are solely dependent on the social grant. So yeah, that's a very important factor that you've mentioned. So please tell us, are there any successful development models from other regions that Bizana could potentially adopt?
Look, I want to try be very honest in answering that question. You know, I'd like to bring something to your attention before we go into that question. Bizana as a municipality, under the leadership of the current mayor, Ms. Mafumbat, has had clean audits in all its audits in the last couple of years within her term. Now, there's something you need to understand. When a municipality goes through a clean audit, it tells you that that municipality is perfect, that there's no flaws in that municipality. So to say that there's another region or province that will have something else that we could adopt to put in our area, I would be taking the credit away from the municipality and the current mayor for efforts. But what I can say is that the only way we can change the situation we're in is to get rid of the hierarchy leadership. That's the only thing that's controlling us. There's nothing wrong with government. Government is absolutely nothing wrong. The municipalities are perfect. Everything is fine. But if you get rid of that controlling factor, then I think you know, when you give a person a position, you must give them the full authority. You know, a person must be able to make their own decision. You know, now in our case, within our municipalities, nationally, most of our mayors, our premiers, are dictated to. They cannot take authority on something or a decision on something standing on their feet. It must go via someone. So I would say it's not about finding another model, but it's about restructuring the way we allow people in power and in position to lead. People should be given their opportunity to run their offices, run their leadership as they receive it as a full package. It should not have a dictator attached to it. So I wouldn't think it's got to do with anything of looking at another problem, because if you go anywhere in the country, you're going to find the same problem. You know, some places might just be a little bit more developed than us, but at the end of the day, when you ask the questions, you're still going to get the same answers. So I think that's what it's all about. I wouldn't want to take the credit away from the current leadership that's in place at the moment.
So what role can local government and community leaders play in addressing the development issues?
Look, I think this will go back to one of my first statements. If government and local leadership can change the mindsets that they have currently, that when I get a 5-year term as a ward councillor, the idea is for me to achieve as much as I can within my personal capacity than to achieve within my development. Because if you look at a lot of ward councillors in their terms, I don't have anything against him, but if you just do an analysis on a ward councillor and his responsibilities, and you go back, you'll see that the interest is on a personal base than what is being put there. So if our local government and local leadership can change their mentalities to serving the people for the purpose that they were appointed for, then I think that could make a lot of change. Because let me tell you something, it's not about the government or whatever. It's how the leaders implement. It's all about the implementation, you know. So I wouldn't want to go into detail unless the question's raised, but I wouldn't want to go into detail between my difference and the difference between other ward councillors, you know. But if you look at it, you'll find where the gap is and the writing's on the wall.
So in your view, what are the most urgent projects that need to be prioritized to see tangible progress?
Okay, look, because I would say health infrastructure would be number one, right? But I'll have to correct it, because I'd rather put water and sanitation as our number one priority, because you can establish a health facility, but if you don't have a proper water infrastructure, it's as good as a waste of time on the health. So I'd say the first thing that we as a municipality, as a region or province needs to do is we need to put in a proper water and sanitation project implementation, not just to ratepayers, but into the local areas, you know, because we all know that water is it's a basic need. You know, exactly. So it's something that people have to get. It's part of their rights, you know. And then after water, I would say we need to focus on road development. Why roads? is because if you don't have proper road infrastructure, if there's a person that's ill or a person that gets hurt or injured and needs proper medical care, because of the infrastructure on the roads, an ambulance is not able to reach that person at the proficient time, you know. So I think that would be the best after water, you know, focus on road. And then after that, you know, we need to focus on our health infrastructure. You know, if we just look right here, we don't have a proper clinic. It's been years. You know, we don't have a proper ambulance service. You know, people suffer. Imagine you have to phone Mount Elif to get an ambulance dispersed to you in Wild Coast. You know, it doesn't make sense. But the only reason why it's like that is because we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the proper infrastructure in communications to have these branches for these things to operate. And last but not least, I would like to say law enforcement. We need as a community to make sure that our police servicing is in good operational and has got all the requirements that they need to implement or execute their jobs. And then obviously education comes in, you know, schooling, you know, kids being given, you know, proper nutrition at schools and stuff like that. But it all starts off with water. Without water, you can't do anything. So you have to perfect that water line before the others fill in on the table.
All right. So how can public-private partnerships be leveraged to foster economic and social growth?
Look, it's an interesting one. You know, partnership between private sector and the public or private sector and government is very important, because you'll find out there's certain things that government can't do within their capacity. But you'll find that a partnership with somebody in the private sector, it allows that extra arm for them to reach out, you know, especially if you look at your international NGOs. You know, we mustn't take any credit away from them. If you look at South Africa, we've got a good amount of schools, good amount of bowls, water schemes that have been put by American missionaries, NGOs, you know. So I would say a partnership between public and private or government would be a good option, you know, because it helps. You know, we can't all carry the weight. You know, we have to split it. You know, I can't do everything. I'm only one person. But if there's two of us, we can do more, you know. But the problem is, how do you implement that partnership? Yeah. What is the objective of the other party? You know, because what we don't want to get ourselves involved in, we don't want to find ourselves whereby the public has captured our government sector because of the funding that they have, you know. So it's a catch-22 situation. It's something that can work, but it needs to be carefully analyzed. But it's definitely something that I would consider.
All right. So what steps can the government take to attract investment and resources?
Look, the first thing, if you want to attract investment, is you need to stabilize your economy. Yeah. So the government needs to find a system whereby the economy is stable. You know, we need to give people reason to invest. Yes. You know, I cannot tell you to invest in agriculture, but you do not have land. Yeah. It doesn't make sense, you know. So the issue with investment comes with economy stability. So the more stable you can prove to me that your business is, the more, confidence I have in investing. Because I don't want to throw my money away, So I think with that, it's government just needs to prove more stability into the economy. They need to make more and better, sober financial decisions when it comes to social development.
So tell us, are there any initiatives or programs currently in place that are making a difference?
Look, there is a few. I'll mention one. Currently, there's what you call a new sector in the ocean economy, which is called small-scale fishing cooperatives. So basically, in the past, only commercial boat owners were allowed to participate within the ocean economy. So what government has done now, it has opened the space to your underprivileged. So basically now, you find your small-scale fishing corps have got a 15-year rights to the ocean economy to participate, whereby commercial, you need to continue renew your license. So it was a good initiative, but the implementation still have a bit of challenges, but that is something that will really boost the economy and also boost the lifestyles of people. Because you must remember, if there's one co-op within your area, that co-op sitting with about 20 members. So now when you look at one person, you do a ratio of 1 to 5. So that person, each person is feeding 5 people at home. So it just goes on and on. So that's something that government has put in place that's in a positive direction, for our social economy development. And then there's also the new implementation of weed growing. Government has also come up with legalizing the growing of weed for medicinal purposes and stuff like that. A lot of people have been given permits to grow plantations legally, for export and stuff like that for So all those things, if they implemented the correct way, all those things should have a positive spin-off within the community and also within the economy of the space that we're living in.
Okay. So looking ahead, what long-term strategies should be implemented to ensure sustainable development in Bizana?
Look, if you're looking at long-term sustainable stability, is basically what you need to do is whatever projects or whatever funding is rolled out to fund a specific person, there should be a watchdog attached to it. So basically, if I get funded R1 million because I want to plant maize, there should be a guideline put in place that this million, this is what it's going to be used for, and this is the generated period of time, and after this period of time, this is what this is supposed to turn into. But where we have failed our people as government, we fund our people with these huge amounts of money, we fund them with the fancy equipment, but we forget one thing: no business management skills. So what happens? You find out that if you travel the whole of Bizana and the Eastern Cape, you'll find that we've got several projects that are now called white elephants, underdeveloped and underskilled beneficiaries. But we're given, you can't give a person R1 million if they haven't earned that, you need to put that. So if we can add a business skills development before funding people, I think that'll make a huge difference on a long-term base.
So, Mr. Meyer, this has to be the end of today's episode. Thank you for joining us and for discussing the important issues of underdevelopment in Bizana. And that is definitely all for today. And thank you for joining us and explaining so eloquently how underdevelopment has impacted us all, because I truly believe that it has impacted us all. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Nontokozo, thank you very much. Thank you to your viewers. And it's been an honor to be with you guys today.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you to our viewers at home. Remember to stay unfiltered and catch us every Friday only on South Africa Unfiltered.